October 8th, 2025. Envigado, Colombia. U.S. naval intelligence locked onto 5 underground reactors running non-stop, cooking coke and meth in amounts big enough to throw an entire country into chaos. A quiet but brutal trade is running between cartels in Colombia and Venezuela, with a shipment headed for crowded U.S. cities. For 3 months, the FBI and Colombian National Police have been following the trail. Every lead points to this exact moment. Today, an operation kicks off to shut this threat down for good. Can the U.S. military tear apart this criminal operation before it's too late? Smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe before we walk you through exactly how it went down. 2:05 a.m., October 8th, 2025, in the industrial edges of Envigado, Colombia. The FBI and Colombia's Policía Nacional were watching. For months, they'd intercepted satellite calls revealing the unthinkable. A garage secretly producing some of the purest narcotics ever recorded. 99.3% meth purity. Hidden behind tool racks and oil barrels, the garage was actually a multi-million-dollar drug plant. Under the concrete floor sat 5 stainless steel reactors, each one taller than a grown man, each one capable of refining 2,000 pounds of crystal meth every week. Combined, that meant nearly 10,000 pounds a month, enough to flood entire American cities for a year. At street prices, the annual output hit a staggering $1.6 billion. The operation was run by the Clan del Golfo, Colombia's most violent cartel, whose reach stretched from Medellin to the Venezuelan coast. Investigators found barrels of methylamine, ventilation ducts disguised as car exhaust pipes, and a hidden tunnel leading to a nearby riverbank. An escape route for shipments headed to Venezuela. Even the electric meters were hacked to hide the massive energy drain from running a chemical reactor farm. And as the clock hit 2:15 a.m., the agents watching from the ridge knew that if they didn't move soon, another 2.3 tons of pure poison would disappear toward the Caribbean by sunrise. Over the next 48 hours, a scramble of analysis, phone taps, and satellite imagery pulled the rest of the picture into focus. FBI analysts worked alongside Policía Nacional cyber teams, tracing payment trails, GPS pings, and encrypted chat logs. Every breadcrumb pointed the same direction. Forensic accountants followed wire transfers into shell companies in Panama and Curacao. Phone records showed rendezvous coordinates. GPS telemetry placed a convoy leaving Envigado at 2:30 a.m. on October 9th, heading east. CCTV from small ports captured the same white box trucks showing up at an isolated landing on the Gulf of Cariaco 2 nights later. Intelligence analysts estimated the loading schedule, 1 maritime shipment every 3 weeks, each carrying roughly 4,000 pounds. About 1,814 kilograms of finished product, sealed in industrial crates. The implications were brutal. One shipment like that, if it reached distribution networks intact, would translate to tens of millions of individual doses on U.S. streets. Intelligence conservatively valued a single cargo load at up to $200 million in retail value. Worst-case models pushed annual throughput above 20,000 pounds, roughly 9,072 kilograms, a multi-billion-dollar pipeline running month after month. Even worse, the route was organized with military precision. Night transits, decoy manifests, and a chain of local handlers waiting on Venezuelan shore slinks to a branch of Tren de Aragua. U.S. Navy maritime surveillance confirmed 2 vessels on parallel courses off the Venezuelan coast, loitering during predictable windows when small boats could come alongside undetected. By early October 10th, there was no longer any doubt. The question became how to cut the line before the first 4,000-pound shipment vanished into the night. Would the Americans move fast enough, or watch a billion-dollar empire expand unchecked? 1:30 a.m. on October 11th, 2025. The Envigado industrial zone was foggy and dead silent. Then a whisper crackled over the radio. Go, go, go! In under 5 seconds, 3 coordinated units, the FBI hostage rescue team, the Colombian Police Special Operations Group, and U.S. Navy observers stationed offshore with SEALs launched the assault. 52 armed agents hit from 3 sides. At 1:31 a.m., a shaped charge tore through the steel door, and the first breaching team stormed in. The silence shattered with 47 seconds of automatic gunfire. Inside, chaos and chemical flames merged. The air was thick with ammonia and gunpowder. 15 cartel gunmen, some armed with AK-103s and Uzis, fired wildly from behind steel drums and chemical tanks. Through the smoke, a stray bullet punched into a reactor steam line. The explosion sent molten debris flying across the lab, torching shelves of precursor chemicals. A wall thermometer shattered as temperatures spiked to 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. But the agents held their ground. Through the flames, they pushed forward in tight formation. One SEAL took shrapnel to the arm but refused to evacuate, covering his team as they descended into the basement. The firefight lasted only 7 minutes, but in that time, the agents fired over 1,400 rounds. When the gunfire stopped, silence fell. Then came the shocking reveal behind a cold concrete vault. Inside, 6,000 pounds of pure crystal meth stacked like glass bricks, wrapped in plastic labeled auto filters. Its U.S. street value, over $480 million. Enough for nearly 30 million doses, roughly equivalent to the population of Texas. Nearby, 5 men were found shackled, their skin burned from chemical exposure. The raid proved that the garage was a battlefield disguised as a factory, capable of producing over 120,000 pounds a year. A billion-dollar pipeline of poison hidden in plain sight. As dawn broke over Envigado, the operation's code name echoed over the comms. Site secured, heart of the machine destroyed. They thought the battle was over inside that factory, but they were wrong. What happened next turned the Caribbean into a war zone. 3:02 a.m. on October 11th, 2025. The battle that began in Envigado turned east toward the Caribbean. The garage was burning behind them, but the FBI's encrypted transmissions revealed something worse. 2 ships were already offshore. Data pulled from seized phones showed coordinates in the Gulf of Paris, 35 nautical miles off the Venezuelan coast, where a deal was about to go down. On those ships floated the last remaining link in the drug pipeline. Over 4,000 pounds of pure meth packed in steel barrels and roughly $80 million about to change hands. The U.S. Navy and Colombian Coast Guard had been watching the operation for hours. Off the coast of Venezuela, the USS Wichita, a literal combat ship, and a P-8A Poseidon patrol aircraft tracked the cartel vessels using infrared. One was a rusted freighter called the San Miguel, escorted by 2 smaller speedboats carrying Tren de Aragua gunmen. Naval radar confirmed 12 armed men on board, with machine guns mounted on the bow. They were ready to fight for their billions. The cartel had relied on fog and darkness as cover. Instead, it became their trap. At 3:19 a.m., the seas were rough. A Navy MH-60R Seahawk helicopter flew low, its searchlight cutting through the black waves. The cartel's response, a hail of bullets, tracer rounds arcing red across the water. The Seahawk banked sharply as its .50 caliber GAU-21 opened up. One of the gunboats caught fire, shells ripping it apart in a storm of flame. Below, 2 RHAB teams raced ahead at 45 knots, skimming the waves. The first team boarded the San Miguel under cover of gunfire. Grenades rolled across the deck, flashbangs, smoke, screams. Within 8 minutes, the cartel fighters were subdued. Inside the cargo hold, sailors found steel drums containing 2,100 pounds of highly refined meth, along with another 1,900 pounds in nearby floating crates. This was cargo the crew had tried dumping overboard to destroy the evidence. By 3:47 a.m., it was over. 17 cartel members were arrested. Over $350 million in drugs were pulled from the sea. A secret raid in Colombia had turned into a full-scale naval confrontation, one that proved that even in the middle of the ocean, there's nowhere to hide. By October 12, 2025, the fires had cooled. But the shock waves were just beginning. The Envigado factory lay in ruins. The San Miguel freighter smoldered beneath the Caribbean dawn, and the operation's survivors sat in handcuffs aboard the USS Wichita. For the FBI and Colombian authorities, this was a revelation. Inside waterproof drives seized from the ship's control room were over 2.4 terabytes of encrypted data. When cracked at the Bureau's Miami field office, the files exposed a global network of 51 offshore accounts, 7 shell corporations, and transfers exceeding $93 million routed through banks in Panama, Curacao, and Hong Kong. The intel linked the Clan del Golfo and Tren de Aragua not just as partners, but as co-founders of a new transnational syndicate designed to supply 20,000 pounds of narcotics per quarter. Enough to flood the U.S. with over 100 million doses every 3 months. Investigators confirmed the captured factory was only one of 4 identical facilities across Colombia and Venezuela, each capable of producing $400 million worth of drugs monthly. Had they not been stopped, this alliance could have generated nearly $5 billion annually, rivaling the GDP of small nations.